What's the difference between obsession and passion?
Passion is something that I kind of feel like passion is a magical dream place. It's like, you know, you desperately want to get to this point in your life or to this place in your life. And you're so passionate about making it to there that you're willing to do anything you can to get to that spot. Obsession is more so forcing a way to get what you need. It's not necessarily like a magical dream place. It's a goal that you have to accomplish no matter what. And so you have to force yourself to do whatever it takes to be able to get to that goal. But even at the other side of that finish line, it's not nearly as exciting as getting to fulfill what you're passionate about and getting the acclaim of that and the satisfaction of that, I think.
Okay, so a variation of that question would be, what's the difference between an obsessed filmmaker and a passionate filmmaker?
I also think an obsessed filmmaker versus a passionate filmmaker is going to really enjoy all of the steps that it takes to accomplish what they want. Whereas an obsessed filmmaker has to do it. You know, they're obsessed. It's a laser-sighted vision of what they need to accomplish in order to then feel as if they have satisfaction. But along the way isn't nearly as fun as someone who's living out their passion.
Do you think that there's a difference in the how relaxed someone is? You know, if you're forcing something, even if you claim to love it, it's not really that enjoyable. Whereas if you're okay with something not working out, and I don't know, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but it seems like there's a fine line between the two.
There's definitely a fine line between the two. I feel like the passionate are a little bit more comforted, and you're confident in yourself at some point. You know, I remember people used to always say, like, oh, you're great. Your movies are great. You're great. You're awesome. And you're like, oh, you know, thank you so much. Like, oh, no, it's too much. It's too much. And then at some point, I feel like you kind of have to believe the hype in yourself to overcome that confidence. Not be overly confident, but just to be like, you know what? I do have this. I can be confident about it. I can control everything. I don't have to go crazy because I actually am talented. I feel like there comes to a point where you realize that, and that's a comfort that a lot of people don't have that self-confidence to be able to get. And I feel like an obsessed person drives themselves crazy because they're constantly worried that they're not going to do something right or their project's not going to turn out right because they don't have enough faith in themselves and their team to be able to pull it off. And so a passionate person would hopefully overcome those hurdles and feel a lot more confident in themselves and their team so that the process becomes a lot more enjoyable.
That's really interesting. So the kind of person that's like their own PR machine, and that they're kind of like, how could you not want my film or not want me, i.e. me, whereas there's other people that overthink it and, well, maybe I did it the wrong way and it's not, I should have changed this one part.
And confidence versus arrogance is another, argument, because you never want to be an arrogant person. But I feel like if you get to do what you love and are successful doing that to some capacity, I mean, that's your ultimate goal, that's the passion. I mean, if I could be on set every day, I would, because I love it, and I love creating and working with a good team and collaborating. But there's definitely times where if you become obsessed with something too much, I mean, Lord of the Rings is a fantastic teacher of that. So you become too obsessed with one thing, you're not seeing the bigger picture.
Well, I think too, certain societies reward arrogance. Western society does, this sort of bravado, and I can handle this, and I'm a hero. And I think we bow down to that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're too maybe self-effacing, or if you're just too meek or whatever, for some reason, the rest of the world isn't going to notice you in the same way.
Right. Well, especially nowadays with the internet. I mean, the whole industry, you're waving a flag as hard as you possibly can, getting anyone to notice you in the sea of thousands of others doing the exact same thing you're doing. I always thought it was funny, people would talk about like the Steven Spielberg film class. It's like, oh, you have Steven Spielberg, you have George Lucas, you have John Milius, Francis Ford Coppola's hanging out. And everyone's like, oh man, what an incredible class where every single filmmaker can want to do something. Well, at the time, there was only like 7 film schools in the country, whereas now there's 7,000 film schools. So it's like, of course they were here, and they had those much more opportunities because there were so many less people doing it. Whereas nowadays, everyone and their grandfather can make a movie on their cell phone without leaving their house. And so that definitely dilutes things and complicates things. And so you're kind of trying to rise above that, or showcase what you're able to do, and be successful with it. Because success, like, how do you measure the success of it? Is the movie coming out, getting on stores, being available, successful? Or do you have to raise $1 million in return being successful? Or do you have, where everyone's level is different, I think. And the ultimate goal is just to be able to do what you love and support yourself, really. I mean, a helicopter would be awesome too. I always wanted a helicopter, but one day.
When you came here from Florida, which was what, 6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have a specific idea of what success looked like, or as long as you got to do what you love, you would have been happy and pay the bills with it?
I'm definitely a realist, and I definitely appreciate the business side of show business, and did a lot of producing for hire, and have managed multiple budgets and crews and things. So moving out here, I knew that there was definitely going to be a big transition of somewhat starting over. But what I did when I left Florida was I tried to build up a national client database that I was creating content for through Abyssmal at the time, so that when we moved to Los Angeles, I wasn't out running around desperate for work or trying to get hired any way I could. I already had enough work coming through, so then I could focus locally on being more creative, focus more on promoting myself as the writer-director, getting a manager and starting to pitch to studios and things like that was more of my focus, knowing that the company pretty much consistently had enough work coming through it. So I feel like I was very lucky, but I also came out here prepared, like knowing that I wasn't going to show up and be like, all right, I'm giving myself 3 months. If I don't get to direct Batman in 3 months, I'm out of here, which I've had friends do. And I've had friends go homeless, and I've had friends come out saying, okay, I've got a 6-month window. If I don't make it in 6 months, I'm out, which is a horrible idea. It's like, no, it's a long haul. It's a long game. I mean, you look at some of the biggest successful directors, they're in their 60s and 70s now. I mean, they are pulling up younger and younger people, but it's a long game for sure. So I definitely felt prepared for that and am aware of it.
Or the famous Harrison Ford quote about, he just stayed, everyone around him he had a house he was staying at with a bunch of people, and all these people left and he stayed. And I know you've talked in another interview about how money is important. And I know as artists, we want to say, money's not important to me. I just want to be able to do what I want to do. And
I do love money, yeah.
But it's a necessity. It's
Yeah.
not even just, whether it's for a flashy car or whatever, but it's a necessity, and the stress that lack of money causes.
Well, I think a lot of filmmakers, especially young filmmakers, don't understand is it's not about the money. It's about making the money back for your investors. Because the more money your movie makes, the more movies you get to make. People always give Michael Bay a bad rap. And I'm like, Michael Bay makes some of the biggest movies in the world and makes more money than almost any other filmmaker. Like, you can't be mad at him for that. Obviously, everyone's seeing his movies, and they may not be for you. There's plenty of movies out there. You don't have to watch Transformers. You can watch a million other films, So it's interesting from a business standpoint where you're kind of like, he can do anything he wants. Like, if I made a movie that made $1 billion, I could do anything I wanted. And that would be amazing. I would totally want to do that. So I think you kind of have to look at it from both sides. But a lot of filmmakers were like, I want to make this movie. And there's a ton of art involved, in crafting and creativity. And you want to make sure everything is balanced. And that rarely ever happens. That's why a lot of people are like, 98% of movies are terrible. And it's like, well, it's not that they're terrible. It's that to make a movie is a miracle. It's a flat out miracle to make and finish a movie. To make a good movie is impossible because everything is against it. So when you get all of those things together in a perfect storm, that is a unicorn. That rarely ever happens. So I don't think everyone really understands that. I think it's you have to have the whole spectrum work together in order for it to be completely successful.
I like that. And what do you think is more of a miracle, the making of it or the finishing of the movie?
Finishing. I mean, I've had friends that made movies that spent money and never released them or never did anything. and never, or they weren't happy with how it came out, so they just toss it out. And you're like, well, what about the 50 people's hard work and actors and, you know, doing all this to be able to make this movie? Like, you don't have any respect for those people. I can't stand when projects don't come out. Like, even if they don't come out the way you want them, you know, they have to come out. You have to let them exist. Someone is going to like it. I mean, and we've made some pretty terrible movies, for sure. I mean, I love low budget horror movies, so I've made a bunch of those. And even recently, I was at a convention this summer, and someone came up and they were quoting lines from this independent horror movie we made 10 years ago. And they're just like, I love this movie. And you're like, oh, there's the guy that bought it, that one. So there's room for everyone at the table. And people really, you wish more people would understand that, more filmmakers would understand that. The Christopher Nolans of the world, where it's like, it has to be this or else, you know, screw everybody else. Like, that's ridiculous. There's movies for everyone, and there's millions of movies out there. So if this one's not for you, this one's going to be, there's plenty to go around.
If you are interested in storytelling, you may also like our new book, Story Questions. It's a story tool that offers you over 1,500 story questions that you can use as story prompts. It's packed with over 40 categories, so whether you are in the brainstorming stages, developing characters, dialogue, or rewriting, it can help you at every stage of the writing process. Think about this statement. Most powerful stories are just great answers to strong questions. We've linked up to story questions in the information section below.